Hey, Armin here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
And I am Frank Mills, and welcome to the show. We appreciate you joining us today, whether you're listening or watching. We are thankful that you are, so thanks for that. Today's show, we're taking a little break from the Master Series, I see. We're going to be talking about Armin Eckelbarger's current training that he's doing. He's doing training splits, so we're going to talk about that and why he's doing it. So we'll get into that. And also in the second part of our show, we're going to talk about strategies for eating out. Sometimes when somebody goes out to dinner, they struggle. It's hard when you see something on the menu that's looking really good and it's really not in that nutrition plan. So Armin's going to be talking about that as well. So Armin, great show. Looks like, talking about nutrition is always good because that's food and I like food. So I like that. But we're starting out with your current training split and why you're doing it. So we are taking a break from the Master Series. Just kind of curious about that. What's up? You just need a little break from that, or what do you think?
Well, I was looking at some of the people that are watching the show, and I think that, it probably would make sense to take a break and just finish it up on probably the next episode. But, just to kind of, I don't want people getting a little bored by all Master Series because, some people are interested and some people maybe not so much. And I thought, well, this would be a good change up. So we'll see if people like it or not. So I thought, well, let me just throw this out. I've had people ask me about it. I thought, well, if you're interested, here's what I'm doing and here's why, and kind of go from there.
Gotcha. Well, just like sometimes you got to take a break in your training and switch it up, we're doing it in the show. So that works. Well, this is kind of interesting topic because I know a lot of people follow you, Armin, and kind of the things that you do. You've got a lot of exposure on the internet with your fat loss secret groups, your other groups on LinkedIn. You're out there quite a bit, and I know you get a lot of questions, but this sounds like a good topic today. How long have you been doing split routines, Armin?
Yeah, that's a good question, but I just got a long time. So I've tried a lot of them. And that's what you got to do. You got to put the reps in, so to speak, put the time in to figure out what works for you and kind of go from there. And that's what I've been doing.
Okay. So why don't you talk about what you're currently doing now as far as your split training or your training split, or however I should say that.
Yeah, it's just a training split. And all we're talking about here on a training split is, what training you're going to do each day. And typically it involves splitting up muscle groups to focus on those particular muscle groups. And so what I've been doing now, and I've been doing this for a decent period of time, is I'm training 5 days a week. So I get 2 days off for rest and let the central nervous system catch up. And so for me, I think it's a pretty advanced training program. So, and I really feel like I'm getting good results from it. But at some point I'll probably change it up again. But I really like the split that I'm doing. And so I'm just going to highlight that real quick. So for me, and I'll explain more about why I do this split the way I do. Day one is going to be quads and calves. So I'm going to hit that really hard for 45 minutes. Day two, I'm going to do chest and triceps. Then day three, I'm going to do back. Now, sometimes, depending on the fatigue, I may have a rest day, in between there. But generally, I can typically do this 3 days in a row. So I'll do, again, quads and calves, chest and triceps, and then back. So I'm letting other muscle groups kind of recover as I'm doing this. Day four, I'm going to take a rest day. So I'm going to let the central nervous system catch up, and I'm pretty tired about that time. So, I can really tell, okay, I need some extra recovery. And then after day 4, day 5, I'm going to go to hamstrings and calves. So I'm really focused on the back of my legs, and then again hit the calves again. Your calves are very durable muscles, so you can train them a little more often, and it's just a matter of experimenting as well. Then day 5, hit the shoulders and the biceps, and then day 7 is another day of rest. And again, this isn't perfect, but that's kind of what I'm doing week to week, and a lot of other strategy to go with that. But that's the current split that I'm on. So 5 days, and then I had 2 rest days.
Well, everybody's going to want to take a look at this because, whether they're already working out or thinking, boy, I'd like to try this routine. But I was more curious on what your thought process was on trying how to decide what to do this routine was.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when you've tried a lot of different split routines, and I have, I think I've done about all of them, but I'm sure there's probably something else that could come up. But when you're training about 40 years, which is how long I've been training, and you've done so many different ones, some of them work good for a period of time, and all of a sudden you just don't feel it. You start feeling stale. You don't feel the energy, and it could be overtraining, but it also could be the combination of exercises you're doing. So I found that challenging to make sure that I'm ready to go, I'm fired up, and I'm excited about the workout I'm going to do. And when that goes away, you need to be making a change, because you're not going to be getting good results. You've got to have good motivation and a lot of fire in the belly, so to speak, to hit that workout and get out of there. So this routine, like all routines that I have, is focused on bringing up what I consider to be my weak spot areas. And so for me, I'm constantly focused on developing my legs, because I just don't like, I feel like there's more I could do with them. I have shaped them up a lot better. So I found that when you split the legs up, which I haven't done that long, and I wish I would have done this personally a long time ago, was when I split up the quads and calves and then the hamstrings. My development has actually been a lot better on the hamstrings, because when you get done training your quads, you train really hard. You don't have much in the tank to train your hamstrings, let alone your calves. And so I found this to really be a nice benefit of splitting them up. And I was kind of wondering how the fatigue would be, but I'm responding well. My hamstrings have actually developed a lot better, which had I done this, 5-10 years ago, I think I would have been even more excited about it, because as you get older, putting on muscle is not easy. It gets tougher. And so as you get older, you're just trying to hang on to your muscle. So, and some people would say, well, hey, that's a bro split, and they can take these bro splits however they want to take it. But these science-based strategies too, when you look at the studies, a lot of that's not necessarily so accurate either, because at the end of the day, okay, no matter what routine you do, okay, now there is science behind the way I do it, but no matter what routine you do, if you don't recover, it just doesn't matter whether you're training 2 days a week on one muscle group, or 3 days a week on one muscle group, or 5 days a week. If you're getting good recovery, then that's what you need to understand. But if you don't get good recovery, it doesn't matter on the splits. And I just get so, these people are like, oh yeah, you have to train the muscle twice a week, and you got to do this, and make it like a mandatory thing. Vince had that as a suggestion, but that's because he wanted people to be consistent with their training, and he wasn't necessarily having them push to failure. So when you push to failure, as you get more advanced, this is where this kind of routine comes into play.
Okay. Well, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, like I am, how long have you been doing this split routine?
So I've been doing this one just around 2 years now. And I did it before as I got my pro card. I did a lot of this before the pro card, and I thought it really helped with again, the hamstrings and my backs. I wanted, my back area is something I want to bring up too. And it seemed to really leave me with good recovery. So and I'm gonna probably, since the effect of having, I'm gonna probably keep doing it a little bit longer. But at some point, I'll probably do another adjustment depending on what I want to focus on more. But with the routine, it's focusing on my legs, my chest and back, because my arms and shoulders seem to respond pretty easy. So they're more secondary. So the emphasis is putting all the energy I have into, again, the legs, chest, and back.
Well, you seem to me, it seems like a very long time to do the same routine. You haven't deviated from it at all?
Well, actually, depending on the schedule and my recovery, yes, I
Mm-hmm.
will need to deviate. So, like anything, nothing's perfect. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to understand that when you're doing things, and changing it up is not a bad thing. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I have to skip a day, and then make a decision on what's going to be skipped or what muscle group I'm going to skip, and also to get more recovery depending on the level of fatigue, because recovery is also dealing with the stress of your day-to-day life, not
Mm-hmm.
getting enough food, not getting enough sleep. And if you don't get all those right way, again, you're going to need more rest. So that's another thing I had to take into mind. And then I've also broken out the training a little bit more. So to just do a change up as well. So
Hmm.
sometimes I'll go 6 days a week in a row, not very often, but I'll do that. And so when I do that, then that means I'm going to do, my quads and calves on day one, my
Mm-hmm.
chest only on day two, my back only on day three. Again, take a day of rest, then hamstrings and calves again. And then I'm going to do the shoulders only. And then the next day, day six, the last day, I'm going to end up doing arms. And so this gives a nice little change up, and I'm going to, put a lot of good energy into doing that. So that's something I'll do from time to time as well,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of break it a little bit. And I found that to be like when I do my arms, I like to superset them, and they respond really well. So the pump's really nice. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something else I like to do. And plus, my training partner, he really likes it. So I kind of, when I introduced it to him, he wanted to do it more often. I was like, yeah, well, we can't be doing it every time right now because I want to stay with the better recovery, the 5 days a week. But
Mm-hmm.
when you do break it out like that, your recovery is still pretty decent. But I still like just doing the 5 days a week.
So how much longer do you think you're going to be on this split routine?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, I have good energy. I get up and
Mm-hmm.
I'm psyched up for even my quad day, because leg days are always a little intimidating because that's an area I'm trying to focus on. It's an area that it's harder for me, and the legs are they're tough to train. So you need a lot of psychological energy before you're going in there. So with
Mm-hmm.
this particular strategy, it seems to be working well. I have good energy and a good strength, so I really like it. And based on the recovery still being good, I'm going to hang on to it a little longer, and then
Mm-hmm.
keep reevaluating, because you always reevaluate,
Right. Right.
and so if you get to the point where, hey, this is getting kind of old, I'm not sure I want to keep doing this. Uh, that's the thing. But I do know with this, I really like, again, splitting the legs up, from you just having a quad and calf day and then having a
Mm-hmm.
hamstring and leg day. So that's something that'll probably I'll keep doing because of what I've seen happen from that.
Well, I did notice that you're doing like 1 to 2 of the actual muscle groups a day. Um, I am kind of curious because I know that you said you only like to be in the gym for around 45 minutes. So, how long did these sessions take for you, Armin?
Well, that's the thing is, to also change things up in the routine, because there's a lot of things you can do with these routines to change them up. Okay, and we're talking more
Okay.
about that too. But I'm trying to get as much work done as possible in that 45-minute period. And the reason behind that, just like Vince talked about, is you if you get more work done in a short period of time, you're going to get a good
Mm-hmm.
response or better response. So it's kind of like the sprinter analogy versus the long distance runner analogy. They do short
Mm-hmm.
burst work and they get more explosive looking muscles, versus longer volume.
Right.
You're going to end up overextending yourself, not get good recovery. It starts affecting your strength. So you get some of the
Mm-hmm.
negatives that come with that. So I've just found it, and again, this is experimenting too. It's like, how much can I
Right.
get
Right.
done? And I tell you, it can get kind of brutal if you're really trying to up your game with short rest
Right.
periods and then trying to keep the weight up there. So that's why I like it. I'm doing all these things, and it seems to really affect me.
Well, you did mention you've tried just about every other split that's out there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, would you say the split you're doing is advanced compared to a lot of the other ones that you've tried or that are out there?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the word advanced, the key is is how much experience you really have. So like I've been training
Okay.
40 years. And so when you get more and more muscle size on, you get more and more conditioned. Um, you've got, if you're going to stimulate new muscle fiber, you've got to change things up. And so it really depends on, how much experience you have and how long you've been doing it. So as again, with the level I'm at, sometimes my recovery will be really good. And sometimes I've overdone it. So with somebody new, it could still work, but it would probably be a little less volume in that 45-minute window, just focusing on how they're doing the exercises. Again, anybody from a beginner to intermediate to advanced could do this routine, but at the same time, you got to get that central nervous system, got to get that stimulation understood. So it can work. It's just a matter of how long they've been doing it, and then what their experience is and knowledge about how to change up their exercises with the routine. But I will say this is, again, with the way this split has worked for me based on my weak areas, it's good. If you have different weak areas, it's going to be a totally different 5-day split if you decide to do that. Like some guys, if they got good quality legs, probably not going to need to split it up. If their hamstrings are coming up well and their calves are coming up well, then they could just do a leg day. Then they would just split up the other weaker areas and focus on that.
Okay. Well, I think you kind of touched on that, but the thing I was going to ask you is, a lot of people are watching the show. Who would you recommend this split to? I know you talked about individuals that have been working out for a while, but is there a category or a thought process on who you would recommend this to?
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where if the person's pretty knowledgeable and have good experience with different types of exercises, then this would be a good fit for them. But it just depends on the knowledge that they have and understanding how to put it together. So, like for me, I know how to combine my exercises. I've been training for a long time, so that helps make a difference on it. But just doing the split as is doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get great results. You also need to understand, okay, if you do this split, how are you going to change it up? How are you going to have the muscles guessing and things like that? So it really depends on their experience with training, and I think that's pretty critical. And then again, like I mentioned before, it's what weak body parts that they have, so that you're getting that aesthetic, well-balanced muscular look. Because that's what I like to do. Now, if that's not if that's not something you're not interested in, that's different. But that's what I strive for. And most of my clients, that's what they want. They want to have a nice balanced physique, so that when they go out, they get their clothes laid the right way. They everything looks really good all the time. So that's kind of how I go about it when I'm dealing with people who I'm going to suggest a certain routine for. Some people, they don't have that. They don't have 5 days a week. They have, because of their schedule, they may only have 3 or 4 days a week. So that's going to be a totally different scenario as well. So it just depends on what they're willing to do and how committed they are, and then how the schedule works. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. And again, what body parts they want to really bring up that aren't responding as well.
Okay. Well, you've talked a lot about, I guess, a lot of the actual things that you do in the split routine. But I was also kind of curious, do you have a certain strategy that you have in mind before the workout? Because the exercises that you're going to perform. Do you have a mindset or a thought process is like, okay, I'm going to do this today. This is kind of how I'm going to go about it, because you have to mentally prepare yourself before you do this, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to get your game face on before you go into this if you want to get good results. So, yeah. So since I've been training a long time, I've had days where it just sucked, and everybody's going to have those days. So it doesn't matter how much prep you do. There's just some days it just isn't going to happen. So you just kind of muddle through them, but just chalk it up. Okay, you got through it. So that's going to happen. So that if you experience that, it's part of it. Okay, not a big deal. But then you have to decide on how you're going to combine your exercises and how you're going to attack the muscle groups, muscle groups for that day. And so that's another thing that comes with experience. As an example, like on my chest day, I'm going to put 1 week, I'm going to focus on the whole chest. But then the next time I train chest, I'm going to focus on upper chest and then the whole chest, because I got to make sure I'm getting a good rounded development of the chest muscle. Like my back day, one focus is going to be lat width, and then I'll do some row movements. And another focus would be, working the rows first and then doing some lat width. And another scenario would be alternating row and lat work, row and lat work. Because the muscles are like, what's going on here? And so you're really changing up that way. So then another format when it comes to deciding on sets and reps is I usually like to start with a foundational exercise, just to attack the whole area, warm all the area up. So that will also deal with, my strength level and going pretty heavy. And typically would just be some straight sets just to see how my strength is going with whatever foundational exercise I want to focus on. All right. So then after that, because I'm pressed for time, I don't want to get things done. Then I'll look at to further fatigue the muscle group I'm working on is supersets, trisets, giant sets, drop sets, cluster sets, etc. Other high intensity strategies to further tax the muscle, push the blood, as much blood as possible in that muscle, and the time I have given to really maximize how much muscle breakdown I can get done in that short period of time. Because by keeping my time short and you breaking down the muscle, that's how you're kind of gauging your recovery as well. Because if you're still not recovering and you've done that much volume, then you need to kind of cut it back a little bit because your body can't handle it. So that's one of the ways I go about deciding how much volume and what I'm going to do as far as the higher intensity type of formats. But as I'm developed now, I do a lot of supersets, trisets, and cluster sets, etc., to finish up, whatever muscle group I'm working on. And it's really challenging because your heart rate's jacked up, you're really pushing yourself. So the strength will kind of diminish when you're doing those movements, but also you get good hypertrophy because there's so much blood volume going in and there's so much stimulation, muscle breakdown. So that's one thing. And then on top of that, then you have tempos that you can do, like, a 4 count negative, 2 count stretch, 1 count positive, and then maybe a 1 or 2 count static hold contraction. So tempos are another thing you throw in the mix. So you can see it starts getting more involved. Then your rep schemes. And I've mentioned in the past that upper body, I like 6 to 10 as heavy as possible. And again, it's not going to be perfect. Sometimes I'll do 12 reps or whatever, and sometimes I may not get 6. Back, I like to do 8 to 12. So that's for upper body. And then legs, I really try to focus on 12 to 20 as heavy as possible to really push as much blood into the area as possible too. And then you got the short rest periods. The short rest period, your heart rate's jacked up. You're trying to, see how much you can do with it. And that's why you really want to, track what weight you're using and then the reps, so you can see, okay, how much more do I think I could push myself this time around on this same type of routine. So that's another thing. And then at the end, you just got to do some stretching. Since the muscle's pretty much full of blood, you do some stretching to see if you can stretch the fascia a little bit more to allow for more potential size of the muscle area. And that takes some discipline as well. I'm not perfect at that either. So, but I do focus on doing that. And I do it at the end. At my age, I don't recommend stretching in between sets. If you're younger, you're probably going to be fine doing some stretching in between sets to help, again, expand the fascia. But at my age, I don't recommend that. I just think you're taking some risk of having an injury.
Right. Well, the one thing it seems like you are focused on for sure is quality for the time that you're working out and quality recover for the time to take off. So your next workout, you're feeling fresh, strong, and ready to go, right?
Yeah. Well, that keeps your enthusiasm up. When it starts to becoming, the point where you're just like dreading it, you got problems. You're not going to you're not going to get a good workout, and you're probably not going to get a good response. So you're just going to be better off just getting some rest. Now, some guys that they end up taking too many rest days because, they're not looking forward to it. They're kind of dreading it. And some of that has to do with the soreness that can come if you overdo it. So that's another thing I have to deal with. Sometimes I overshoot myself. And like this week, I'm really sore. So I've kind of overextended myself because I tried some new things. So I'm like, okay, I got to kind of adjust for that. So that's the thing. You have to adjust as you respond to things too.
Well, it's really good, I think, too, because I've seen guys, in the gym where they're there in the morning, they go back at night, they're doing double workouts, and they think more gets more results. And
Uh,
you're a prime example of you can do it in 45 minutes, you get some quality recovery, and you'll get the same results or better, right?
yeah, well, I've done the 2-a-day workouts. I've done those. Like I said,
Right,
I've done a
right,
ton of different splits. And what I found happened to me on it is I was just getting sleepy in the afternoon. I was just so fatigued. So I'm
right,
trying to
right.
get through my work day, and I'm getting actually run down. So
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
okay, because when you first start doing that, you're actually fresher,
right,
because you're not
right.
doing it. But then as the body starts getting really taxed because you're pushing yourself, that's when things start getting a little more complicated. So then you have to reevaluate. Not saying you can't train twice a day,
Right.
but there is a lot of hassle with training twice a day. You got to take 2 showers potentially. You got a lot going on, so it just adds a
Right.
lot of work to your day.
Hmm.
Versus, do you have to train twice a day? Okay,
Right.
now
Right.
if you're a drug using pro bodybuilder, well, that might be an exception for sure because of all the hormone
Right.
they got. They probably need to do that. I'm just talking about
Hmm.
everyday guys that are just trying to get good results and look good.
Right. Right. Well, as we wrap up, any final thoughts on your split program?
So for any split you're going to do, yeah, I would say that you should design a split to focus on your weak areas all the
Hmm.
time. Because that way you'll get a better balanced physique. Not to, everybody loves to do chest. I think everybody likes to do arms, but you got to have some discipline. You got to train those areas that you don't like so much, but are probably not as well developed. So figure out a way to make those more interesting so that you can do them because you always have energy for the stuff you like to do.
Right.
And I'm no
Right.
different than anybody else. And I just found that when you put the weaker areas and you put the energy in it first, you're going to get a better response. I've seen it happen myself. So do
Hmm.
that. Keep the workouts under 45 minutes, and then you can always play with that a little bit. But I just found it works really well for me and all my clients. And then you're going to have better efficiency because it doesn't take all your time. 45 minutes in a day is not as big a deal as doing an hour, hour and a half, and then
Hmm.
drive time and depending on what you're doing. So just my thoughts on it. I've seen much better results doing that. You need to change out the exercises, okay, to keep things fresh. Okay, so you do it on a regular basis to keep the body guessing. And there's always going to be some debate on that. But again,
Hmm.
I'm pretty advanced, so I kind of need to do that. If you're getting good results by doing the same thing, then stick with that. But there will be a point where it's going to level off. Okay, so that's when you should start considering exchanging another exercise for some of the ones you've been using to
Hmm.
change it up. Okay,
Okay.
and then for overall development, just do that, and then you got to focus on keeping your intensity as high as possible to help stimulate new growth, but that's going to require breaking down more muscle. But when you do a higher intensity, you're going to stimulate more muscle fiber to react to that stress, and that's how you'll get better quality gains. And that's just from my personal experience. And again, to develop everything in a nice, even, balanced level.
Hmm. Well, a lot of great information, Armin. And, for a lot of people that may want to try a training split, not maybe yours or maybe one
Yeah,
customized, hey, they can always contact you at Elite Exec Method for that, right?
yeah, yes, they
Okay.
can.
All right. So Armin and I, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with more of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, and welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills. Welcome back to the show, and we appreciate you joining us as always. Second part of the show, we're going to talk to you about going out to eat, strategies for that. And Armin has quite a few of them, so we're looking forward to that. But before we get started, I just wanted to share something with you guys. I've been eating more protein, trying to lose a little bit of weight. I've been pretty successful with that last couple of weeks, but how NSP Nutrition's digestive enzymes are working are tremendous.
Yeah.
Armin told me about them. So about maybe 30 minutes before I'm going to eat a heavy dose of protein, whether it's a ribeye steak or, you know, a, some burger patties or whatever I'm going to have, I take
Right.
it now. And Armin, I've noticed a tremendous difference in my digestion
Yeah.
because of it. So thank you for that. It's a great product.
Yeah, I recommend it too, especially with, again, heavy protein meals. You don't necessarily have to take it for every single meal, but
Right,
if you
right.
have a big meal or a heavy protein meal, I think you'll find it help break down, help the digestion, help minimize bloating and things like that by taking it. So,
It's a great product. So check it out on nspnutrition.com. You're looking for digestive enzymes,
yeah.
and they work great. So that being said, let's move on to more food topics here. Going out to dinner, a lot of people like going out to dinner. I know our wives are significant others like going out to dinner. So
Yeah.
I have to say I enjoy it, but when we go out, it's always like a minefield for me sometimes because you're like, oh, right? You're trying to be
Yeah.
good, but some things just look so good on a menu, or as they pass
Right.
by your table going to somebody else's, I got to try that, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
this should be good for people that like to eat out a lot and are trying to look for ideas to, make the right approach for their nutrition plan, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you know, they're probably looking for answers because they're really not sure. And so this should
Right.
give them some good insight based on my own experience working with clients as well. But,
Mm-hmm.
I just approach it much differently, because of what I do than other people, in my opinion. So
Mm-hmm.
what I want to do is just kind of highlight, what I do with it and then see if it gives you some good takeaways for yourself.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think we all get kind of the guilties, and knowledge is power. So if they have your knowledge, maybe they have a different approach, and I like that. So Armin, when you talk about what you do this because not only you live the lifestyle, but your clients, you're advising
Yeah.
people on how to do this as well, right?
Well, I'm trying to give them some strategy to understand, okay, when you're going to eat out, there's certain things you want to be aware of that you want to look for to decide,
Mhm.
is this going to be the right fit based on what I'm doing for my nutrition program?
Right,
And
right.
so, because everybody has a different, well, not, but everybody has a certain approach they want to utilize. So if you're staying low carb, that's going to be a different strategy. If you're not staying low carb and you want to enjoy yourself, then that's a different strategy. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're getting the foods that are, in most cases, being cooked the right way at different restaurant chains and things like that, that I feel I've gotten a good experience from. Now, I'm not saying it's
Hmm.
perfect, but I also feel like it has worked pretty good for me and also for my clients when they're asking a lot of questions. And so that's what we want to kind of highlight here to see if we can give you some new ideas if you're not already taking advantage of it.
Right, right. And I think the hardest thing too, and I know we're heading in a direction here, but just a little detour. I think the hardest thing too is appetizers, because
Yeah.
it's easy to find the main course, like, okay, broiled, grilled, okay, this, that, right? I mean, you have a
Yeah.
direction, vegetables, but appetizers are like the minefield for me. It's really dangerous. So I'm kind of curious. You have strategies, but do you have strategies on where to eat instead of what to eat first?
Yeah, well, like you do have to have that because not every restaurant has quality food. They're selling it
Right,
based on price. And so when you sell it based on price, there's going to be some sacrifice there because
right, right.
they're not necessarily buying the best quality food. They're just trying to solve the feeding you problem for
Okay.
X amount of dollar return because their whole goal is to make money. So, when I go out with a strategy, the first thing I want to decide, okay, where I'm going to go, is this going to be a low carb meal that I'm going to go for, or is it just going to be, having some carbs uh, and enjoying myself based on that? So that's one thing. Okay.
Okay.
Because it does make
Okay.
a difference of what restaurants you go to because some of them kind of cater to low carb and some of them don't.
Right.
Then I look at my what my options are. Is it going to be something I'm going to I want to eat something fast because of a schedule issue, or is it going to be a sit down meal? Because there's a big difference there as far as quality. And I don't care what anybody says, you're not going to tell me a fast meal is going to be just as quality as a sit down meal.
Right.
I'm going to have a hard time believing that. So you have to prove it to me. But at the same time, there are some in the middle kind of scenarios. Okay. So, once I got that done, then I'm just going to compare what restaurants I have in the area that offer what I'm looking to do, and then what I know about the quality of the food. And a lot of times you just don't know. So you got to kind of take that guess as well. But yeah, you just do the best you can.
Right. Well, it's hard too, because even though everything you said about the decision making, we all think we're the president, but we're really the vice president when it comes to deciding when we're going out to eat and where.
You always got another opinion,
right,
it seems like. Yeah. Well, I don't want to eat that. I hate that. Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right, man.
So, we feel your pain. We've been there. We've done that. I'm just kind of curious, Armin, at the restaurant chains, let's say that you like, and let's start with something simple. A lot of people are in a hurry. Fast food. Yeah. Fast food. There's a bunch of places that we drive by every day, all day, going to work, going shopping, whatever we have to do, errands. What of the fast food chains that are out there, are not the minefield? Like, okay, I can go there. It's okay.
All right. Well, about all of them still have minefields, unfortunately, because they're not perfect. But the ones that I feel like that I've gone to, that I've ate, that I feel like, okay, that was a good meal based on how I felt, because you're only as good as what you know. Right. So what I do like to do is, like, me and you have ate at BurgerFi. I feel like that's a good quality piece of beef, and you get it on a lettuce bun if you're going to go low carb. If you're not going to go low carb, then obviously you can use a bun and maybe have some fries, depending on if you're celebrating or something. So I like that as a good quality restaurant. I like Chipotle. I can get it with with low carb. I just do the vegetables, the guacamole, the cheese, the sour cream, and then the meat, and it fills you up really well. So I like that one. But if you're going to have a carb related meal, then you can throw the beans and rice in there, or whatever you prefer to have some carbs too. So I felt like, and they say it's organic. You never know,
you don't know. Right.
It's marketing. So that's the other thing you got to look at. Even Five Guys, they have a decent hamburger. It's freshly made. My son actually worked there for a short period of time, and so he kind of told me what they were doing, and it's actually pretty quality hamburger. So, but is it grass fed? Is it non-hormone? Well, I can't guarantee that, but if you got to make a decision, that's what your option is, because they will do a lettuce bun as well.
Yep.
So you can do that if you're going to be low carb. If you're not low carb, then it doesn't matter quite so much. So I like that one. Panera, I like some of the salad combinations. I don't like any of the bread products, added into that if I'm going to be low carb. But again, if you're not going to be, then I feel like they make good quality. You have good quality food. Polo Tropical, I like. If that one's available, they have good quality chicken, and as far as I'm concerned, the way they cook it and everything, and they have good vegetables to pick from. So that's a good choice in my opinion. Boston Market can be good. Because again, they have some freshly made stuff. You got to watch for the seed oils though at Boston Market with some of their stuff. So you want to kind of learn as much as you can about how they make the food. So just an FYI there. That's just kind of give you a few of the ones that come to mind where you can go in, eyeball something pretty quick, and get out. And I haven't tried every fast food restaurant, but these are the ones that I found that if I'm going to do it, I like those better than the other options.
Right. Okay. One option I can throw in there, and I'm curious, if you haven't tried it, I'm going to suggest you try it and see what you think, is called Culver's. And they'll modify your order with whatever you want. And they've got some pretty good quality food. So I'm kind of curious what you think of Culver's when you get an opportunity to kind of check them out. They're close to you as well. You mentioned the lettuce, on your hamburger bun. And a lot of people who go low carb, that is a great option. But I am kind of curious, and I'm sure everybody else is too. What do you order?
All right. So like for me, good question. Typically, if I'm going to BurgerFi and I'm going to be low carb, I'm going to get the double. And sometimes I'll get two of them if they're for $5 deals. But I'll get the double with the white cheddar. I'm not a fan of American cheese. It's processed, so I don't do that. But I'll get double white cheddar. And then the condiments aren't a big deal. I have some onions, ketchup, mustard, pickles, that kind of stuff. And that's it. That's what I'll get there. If I'm going to Chipotle, I'll get some, like I mentioned before, I'll get some meat, maybe some lettuce, if I want some extra filler. Then I'm going to get the vegetables because they're good. Then the guacamole, the sour cream, the cheese, a little bit of salsa. And that works well for me. I'll put some additional hot sauce on it as an example. And you just kind of pick the meat that that you like. Five Guys are kind of, it's similar to BurgerFi as far as what I'm going to pick. Again, I'm kind of basing these on low carb. Panera's typically going to be one of their salads. They have some good ones to pick from, and the salad dressings seem to be pretty decent. The thing is with salad dressings, you got to watch for, the processed oil, soybean, canola, and all those oils. They're not really helping you, so you really want to minimize that too. To kind of keep that in mind. Then Polo Tropical, I'm just going to get basically their chicken with some vegetables with it. So again, you can always do a salad, but I don't do salads too much because most of them are just soybean oil based, which is horrible. It's horrible for you. So that's one of the negatives about having salads. Everybody thinks, well, I had a salad, so I'm good to go. This is, it was a good meal.
Right.
You're pouring oil-based processed oil on it. You're kind of, not getting what you think you're getting. So that's another eye opener for people. Read the ingredients, you'll be shocked. I mean, that's why I'm not a fan of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, they have a lot of processed food. There's processed food. Now they do have some grilled chicken, but that's about it. There's grilled chicken. I mean, their salads, if you use the salad dressings, they're horrible. This is just my opinion. People probably, if you love Chick-fil-A, you're probably going to disagree. But at the same time, I'm giving you the reasons I don't go to Chick-fil-A because I was really disappointed when I learned about how everything was made. I mean, because it's all processed oils, how it's cooked. All right.
Absolutely.
Don't get too out of pocket on that, but just, real quick.
No, it's good that you let everybody know because, they're one of the top, if not the top, fast food place to go right now, both because of service.
People think it's healthy. They think it's healthy because
they think it's quality. Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Well, I'm seeing more BurgerFis pop up, so that's good. But anyway, all right. So what about the sit down? I can tell you with my wife, she likes to go out, nice environment, nice meal. We like getting waited on. We all do. I mean, the whole presentation of the meal, the whole thing. So sit down restaurants, are there any that you frequent or you could maybe recommend? I know it's really different from all over the world, all over the country, but any suggestions there?
All right. So anytime you're doing a sit down restaurant, if you're just not sure, then one thing that I always do is I look in the menu to see if they have chicken wings. If I'm going to be low carb, because I know I can get that with some celery sticks and some blue cheese or ranch dressing, and go that route. I'll typically do the blue cheese because the ranch typically has the oils, like I mentioned before, that you're trying to avoid. So I'm looking for places that they'll have chicken wings. If I'm staying low carb, and one of the places I like, and this is a plug for them, but Glory Days. From what I know, they seem to have big quality chicken wings that fill you up, and they have different ways that can be cooked. And I like the dry rub, so that's one of my favorites. One of them I can't stand them when you're looking at chicken wings is Buffalo Wild Wings. I hate to say it, but they're the worst.
I agree.
I've ate there probably 3 or 4 times. Done. Not gonna go there. Now maybe it's just because I hit 2 of the wrong places. I don't know, but to me, it was the worst, cheapest food I've ever ate. So, I don't know, elaborate too much on that. Probably some people might get a little upset, but I'm not eating it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then I when I'm looking at them, I don't like buying a lot of beef related products, in the sense that most of them are just cheap hormone based beef products. So that's something that I think is important because if you eat out more often, that's going to add up. Okay, so I'll stick more with chicken and turkey and other types of meats that I know that are have less likely to have those kind of issues. So
Agree.
when it comes to sit down, most of the ones I go to, again, I like Glory Days, I like Outback. They got good chicken, they got good vegetables, Olive Garden, Ruby Tuesdays, Cheddar's, Bonefish, Maggiano's, BJ's, Carrabba's, Red Lobster, TGI Fridays. I think they have quality food there. Cheesecake Factory, just going to be a little more expensive. Longhorn Steakhouse, Bob Evans, Cracker Barrel. I still like their foods. First Watch is a good one. That's a new chain. It's up and growing.
Yeah,
Texas Roadhouse. Yeah. Just to kind of name a few. So these are ones that I've actually ate at that I feel like these are good selections that I think you can get what you want to get done and enjoy yourself and have quality food. And this is just my opinion on this, but I think those are good ones to work with.
I agree. There's also one that's local here in the Tampa Bay area. If you live around here, out just on the other side of Oldsmar on Tampa Road, it's called La Peep. And,
okay. Yeah, La Peep. I've actually ate there before. Yeah, they're a little franchise that has breakfast and lunch, I think, is what they focus on.
Right.
Yeah,
they have some really good quality stuff, boy. Wow, their breakfast is great.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I'm sure that everybody's interested in your approach because, look, we're all going to get our arm behind our back sometimes, and we're forced into a place sometimes, right? You're in a group. Yeah. Oh, let's go here or whatever. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to determine how and what you're going to do and not be like, oh God, this guy's raining our parade type guy, right? You don't want to be that guy either. So,
well, yeah.
Armin, what's your approach in these restaurants?
Well, again, it's going to depend if I'm going to be going low carb or if I'm going to be carb loading, because when I carb load, it doesn't matter quite so much.
Right.
Mashed potatoes are mashed potatoes in most cases. So, or baked potatoes are baked potato. So, that's all good. But other than that, that's going to be a bigger determinant. But usually when I go in, the protein I'm going to go with, because of my concerns with, the red meat industry and the restaurant industry. And that could, that's just based on what I've learned. Maybe it's not what it is, but I'm pretty sure it is what it is. So I'm going to stick with chicken, turkey, salmon, eggs. Those are really, to me, pretty safe combinations to use when you're going to be at a restaurant. They're not going to have typically not going to have a lot of hormones and stuff like that, antibiotics added to it. And then I'm going to have non-starchy vegetables, so it's going to be cruciferous vegetables, like broccoli, cauliflower, beans, the high fibers type vegetables. And I'll have those with butter, or if they have olive oil, I'll put olive oil on. Either one of those fats are good. Again, it probably won't be grass-fed butter. So, I'll have some though, but if they have grass-fed butter, great, but probably not going to be. And then I'll have a salad, and it'll typically be oil and vinegar. And then I'm going to see if they have real olive oil for the salad dressing, or if they have a good quality. It's like some restaurants do make their own salad dressings. So, and then, and some of them will still do the cheap oils, but some of them don't. So that's how I'm going to approach it if I'm going to go low carb. Then if I'm carb loading, I'll have sushi. I think that's a great one. One thing to know about sushi, though, it is very high in sugar. So just understand that. You'd be surprised how much sugar that's in sushi. So, but the fish is quality typically, and then you have the rice. But I attended a seminar on how to make sushi, and that's what I learned. It was just amazing how much sugar they put in it. So just an FYI. Other than that, like mashed potatoes, baked potato, corn, rice, cornbread, even some breads. I'll have those. I'm not I don't like the low glycemic carbs like a sweet potato. The reason for that is because that just keeps your insulin elevated. When I'm going to carb load, I want a high glycemic carb, so that, because I don't carb load all the time, like 3-4 times a day. I don't do that. If I have a high glycemic type of carbohydrate, the insulin comes up fast and insulin drops down pretty fast too, versus a lower glycemic carbohydrate like a sweet potato, brown rice, and those kind. They just keep your insulin elevated. and having it elevated isn't a plus either. Okay, because that can also potentially cause cravings down the road. So just an FYI is how I approach that when I'm going out.
Absolutely. You know, and you brought up the sushi.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine encourage me because, you know, I I love seafood, but you know, when sushi became popular, I was kind of like baby steps, right? I had to go, okay, wait a minute, I cook my stuff. I don't get this, but I
Yeah.
tried it, and the more daring I got, I tried different things, and now, you know, it's no big deal. But if you're really looking for a great option, you can order a sashimi platter, which is just the raw fish.
Yep.
And I didn't realize the flavor and how good it can be. Like yellowtail, just fresh, is amazing. So
Yeah.
that's always an option too, right? So
Yeah. Well, I enjoy the same. I mean, when I have sushi, I'm going to eat a lot of it. So because
absolutely.
I'm fueling back up. But yeah, it's just that I was just really surprised at how much sugar they really use, and that could vary from company to company too. But that's one thing. If you're concerned about sugar, just keep that in mind. Just because everybody thinks sushi is like the perfect, there's nothing that's not healthy about sushi. Well, actually, there is if you dig a little deeper. So that's one of the things I do a lot of times.
Gotcha. Okay. So last but not least, unless you're out partying and celebrating, it's your cheat day, or you've got it like marked on the calendar, like, okay, I can go have fun today.
Right.
If that's what you're going to do, great. If you're not, what type of approach do you have for a beverage?
Yeah. So for me, I like to keep it simple. I like to just do like unsweetened tea. I don't add any sugar
Gotcha.
or anything. I just drink it like that. I mean, you
Yep.
can always sweeten it, but just be careful with the sweeteners that you're using. But that's kind of what I go with. Or worst case water, but tap water is not much better either. So, but I don't do any of the sodas or any of that.
Yeah.
I just don't do that at all. So it's
Well, you
pretty
go a
simple
lot
for
of
me on
places.
fluids.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a lot of places where you have the tap water and it's disgusting, right? It just tastes nasty, right?
Dude, yeah, it's brutal. Yeah. So
And no
I
amount of
just
lemon will save
sip
it.
it. I
Right.
just slowly sip it. And
Right.
you don't really want to drink a lot of fluids anyways when you're
Right.
eating, believe it or
Right.
not, because that dilutes the hydrochloric acid. So
Hmm.
you kind of want to be careful with how much you're having of a beverage for good digestion. Just
Hmm.
another notation there.
So I did want to ask you this while we're talking about unsweetened. I was at
Yeah.
a place, matter of fact, yesterday, and they gave me this variety of sweetener options. And I was kind of curious because I ordered unsweetened tea.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and they're all in these little like sleeves, eco sleeves, right? They're little tubes.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Oh.
this is new. I haven't seen these before.
Hmm.
Okay, so they got Splenda, they got stevia, they have raw cane sugar,
Hmm.
then they had saccharin based product, and then they had pure cane white sugar, and then they had just like normal white sugar that was like an option, and there were some that were organic and some not. I mean, it was the most sweetening options I'd ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Is that a minefield as well? Do you just like, okay, I steer clear of that, or are any of the options I named or other ones that I didn't, like allulose, are those okay?
Well, allulose is good. We've talked about that in the past. And that's actually a really good sweetener. I mean, it tastes
Mm-hmm.
almost like sugar, and
Mm-hmm.
it won't even raise your insulin up. So that's a really good one to use. Obviously, stevia is good too,
Okay.
but it has a unique taste to it.
It
And then
does. It does.
the Splendid could work. It's just it's sucralose is what that is. But I
Okay.
just don't. I don't like using those at all. So that's just me. I'm
Okay.
used to having really. If you have a good quality black cut tea, it goes down pretty well. So I don't need it for that. But if you're somebody that really feels like you need that, then yeah, I do the stevia, the allulose. I do allulose first, then
Right.
stevia,
Right.
and then if worst case Splenda would be how I would approach it. So
Well, they
good
also
point.
offer that organic raw cane sugar, like talking you into like this is really healthy, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
no, it's still sugar, guys.
Well, it's marketing. Marketing,
Yeah,
or it's
yeah,
organic. So organic just means everything organic means it's good for you. Well, there's a lot
right,
of rip-offs with organic. You don't buy
right,
organic bananas. You don't buy
right,
organic grapefruit. You don't buy organic watermelon. You got a rind on the thing. It's never going to
right,
get down in there. So you're just
right,
getting
right,
hosed if you're going to pay extra for organic on as an example. So
right, right. Okay. Well, we probably left out the most important part of any meal, and I'm talking about dessert. Now, I know we're
okay,
wrapping up here, so
all right.
as we wrap up, what about dessert, man? Come on.
Well, again, it depends what you know about the restaurant. I do like
Hmm.
having desserts. So sometimes I'll have the chocolate mousse cake. Sometimes I'll have I'm a big carrot cake fan. I'm a big
Hmm.
cheesecake fan, and any kind of cobbler. I like those. So just
Okay.
understand those are, they're probably going to have a lot of some of the restaurants do a really good job on those, but it just
Hmm.
depends on where they're being made at. But that's what I'll have
Right.
for me. So you can have those if it's a carb reload type of day,
Hmm.
and enjoy them. It just understand that they're probably going to have some of the high fructose corn syrup and things that you know aren't going to be as beneficial. So to me, just say this: high fructose corn syrup. One of the negatives about that, even though it's a sweetener and it's got other factors involved with it, it tends
Hmm.
to affect the science is stating it tends to affect your gut microbiome, and it actually makes the bad bacteria grow faster, which affects your overall immune system and how your gut works. So
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons why you kind of want to watch out for high fructose corn syrup, especially in your condiments. Which again, fast food, it's going to be any kind of fast food type, or even sit down. They're going to probably have high fructose corn syrup, so you have to read the
Okay.
labels. Okay,
Hmm.
especially if you're eating
Okay.
out more often. So there's a quick tip there.
All right. So what about the places, like, as we wrap up the show here, stay away? I mean,
All
nothing
right,
really is
so
good for you.
So in my opinion, I would stay away from any of the processed food chains. So
Hmm.
McDonald's for the most part is horrible. People can
Hmm.
say what they want to say, but you start reading what they do. It's just not good ingredients, and it's cheap.
Right. Right.
That's about making money and providing a quick solution. Taco
Hmm.
Bell, and again, not impressed. Chick-fil-A, we kind of talked about that. Burger King, I think, is horrible. It's
Hmm.
all they use the heavy processed oils. KFC, same thing. Even though it's chicken,
Hmm.
they have they use soybean oil and other oils to cook the chicken with.
Hmm.
Church's chicken, Popeyes. I mean,
Right.
Dairy
Right.
Queen's horrible. There's all chemicals for Dairy Queen. Sonic is about the same level. Again, they were talking at the bottom of the barrel with Dairy Queen and Sonic, in my opinion.
Right.
So
Right.
the food quality is it's just not good, and what that means is you're not going to get very much nutrition from it. So why even bother? Look for something.
Absolutely.
You'd be better off pulling in a gas station, because some of these gas stations now have put together some pretty good options with hard boiled eggs, cheeses, quality cheeses. Um,
Wawa. Right.
yeah, like Wawa. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of the gas
Yeah.
stations are starting to do that. So
Yeah.
I'll go
Yep.
that route if it's really bad. But anyways, and even some jerkies are good, but you got to read the label, because a lot of the jerkies are just they're filled with crap. But there are some good basic organic jerkies that are good for
Right.
protein if you need something really fast. So just FYI.
Just read the labels, be careful,
Yeah,
but enjoy yourself and plan ahead if you're going to go out to dinner as much as you can.
right.
Wow. Longer show than normal today, but we had a lot of
Yeah,
information we wanted to cover. Hopefully it helps. And Armin, as
yeah.
always, we appreciate all the great info, man. Thank you.
Hopefully everybody got some takeaways. But yeah, really a pleasure. Looking forward to next week, and give us some input on that too. Good and bad, because we're here to help.
Absolutely. And we want to hear from you. So if you have a suggestion for the show, a topic, a question, whatever, you
Yeah.
can easily comment in the YouTube section under the show, or you can email us. And the email is support at
Hmm.
nspnutrition.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. Again, we appreciate your support, your feedback, and comments and all that. We look forward to seeing it every week. and join Armin and I next week for a brand new episode of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP Show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP Show at the checkout. Catch you next time.